It's time for Who Watched, Time and Relative Blackness in Space.
Black girls have the box.
Hi everyone, it's Bayana, Connie, and Robin coming to you live from the Time Vortex.
Today we're discussing episode 5 of Doctor Who season 11, the Tsuranga Conundrum. In this episode, the Doctor is sometimes joking, but not right now. Yaz is a football legend, and Ryan has an epiphany.
So we start this episode off in the future. And this is like proper future, and we know
like sideways future.
Yeah, we know for a fact that we are in the future. We're in the 67th century. Yeah,
it's rough in the middle, but it turns around in the end, which hopefully matches our century. Honestly.
Oh God, awkward. So the Doctor and her friends are in a junk fam. Yeah, her fam, her squad, her gang. They're in a junk galaxy, and they're like searching for parts. I think it's not
really clear, but I feel like it's like not, you know, when you're looking for treasure on the beach or something. Like they're just looking for anything cool. And I guess they all pick up stuff and they're like, Doctor.
Anything cool? I think they're looking for something particular because Graham says it's like a needle in the haystack, and she says that like maybe they're on the wrong junk planet.
Yeah,
I think they're looking for a few like spare parts for the TARDIS.
Yeah, and so they're doing that, but then Graham finds a sonic mine.
It's his fault.
Of course he does.
Which to me was like, which of course he does, and then you know the Doctor promptly apologizes, but like I guess she did take them there and didn't say like, hey, there might be like things sonic like mines
here.
Luckily, sonic mines are not fatal. Though they are definitely like, you know, they will injure you. So the mine explodes, and then they end up on this ambulance ship called the Tsuranga, I believe. And I was like, I say I believe, but like, never mind. I know. It's literally called the Tsuranga. And so then they end up on the ambulance without their TARDIS. So that's kind of like how we open it.
Which is like the TARDIS keeps doing Irish goodbyes, just like peacing out. What's going on?
I mean, they peaced out this time, but still, I'm gonna need the TARDIS and the Doctor to stop. You know,
they need to be on the same page.
I need it. Yeah. Like, come on.
Yeah. But then I also feel like thinking about it, because this is like the quintessential like ensemble. We're stuck on a thing. We don't have.
It's a bottle episode.
They always they always get rid of the TARDIS.
Yeah.
Like they can never get back to the TARDIS, and that's how they're stuck. So like in terms of the kind of episode it was, it made sense. It's more just because we just got the TARDIS back, which is kind of how the Doctor is feeling. She's like, just got it back, and now I don't have it anymore. So that's why it's a little bit like, okay, but for the purposes of the plot and whatever, it makes sense, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think they mentioned off-camera adventures, which is cool because then we see like that time has passed, and also they've been with each other longer, which I think is necessary to move it along. So at this point, I'm gonna say this, and like I don't know that I fully like this part of it, but like it also allows them to move a little bit more further in the like grief process.
Yeah, for sure.
That makes sense. Because so far it's been like back-to-back stuff, and it's been like Grace just died, whereas like now there is some space in between that where they could have done more work, and so then the show doesn't have to do as much work, but you know, shouldn't have to do that work in the first place, but that's fine. But yeah, I mean, I think overall I generally liked this episode. I don't want to say they've always done well with these kind of episodes, but it's one of their most consistent kinds of episodes, I think.
Sure, because like on our agenda, you've listed a bunch of episodes that are similar to this one, and I don't like any of them except for Silence in the Library, so let's force it again. Then I think it's mostly because of River. I mean, it's a good episode, but I don't like Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit. I don't like 42. I don't like the Rebel Flesh. Like, I can't even see that episode. Like, it's so dark. I can't see anything happening. The Almost People, Under the Lake and Before the Flood. Is that season?
I forgot about that episode.
That's season 9.
This season 9 with the ghosts.
Where the TARDIS is like the time turner.
Yeah.
So I love that one because it's like it's
ghosts.
like internal time travel. Like that's like more. It's more of a closed loop. It's more. It really is like Prisoner of Azkaban to me.
Is it a ghost, can't be seen. Or is it he's part of the ship? Isn't he or something?
It's like it's like a I haven't seen it in a while, so I can't remember exactly. But it is ghosts. But I think it's like it's a time thing. They're like in different. Yeah, I haven't seen it in a minute, so I just can't remember. I do remember liking it.
It's the submarine kind of episode.
Yeah, okay. They're like under the water and yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that one was fine. But, like,
I mean,
comparatively...
I can't remember 42. I love Silence in the Light, Forest of the Dead. And honestly, that's the only one, I would say, like, of the ones that I listed, like, that's the only one that I would, like, immediately go watch, like, right now.
Right, so that's what I'm saying in terms of, like, this one... I agree that you're right that it is like those other episodes, but this one, I actually liked it as opposed to... Like, I rewatched this one... And was just like, okay, yeah. And it has, like, you know, great quotables and stuff, so.
What you said, Connie, about, like, you can't even see
I can't.
Rebel Flesh.
It's like this
really am enjoying the fact that I can see what's happening.
Yes.
Because the reason why last season was a slog, I couldn't see. I couldn't discern what was going on, who was where. It was too dark. And again, I have vision problems, y'all. Like,
I think that also this episode reminded me a lot of, like, it didn't, like, but it did because it's the last time we were on a spaceship in the same way. So, like, of Oxygen, and how that one was like how Moffat was, like, explicitly trying to use a lot of horror tropes for that episode. And I think that this episode had a lot of horror tropes, but, like, the color palette, it was brighter. Like, it wasn't, so it was still scary, and you're still like, what is that in the walls? But, like, you can see. And so it's a lot easier to be like, okay, like, at least to chill. You know what I mean? It's a lot. Like, I could have watched that with lights off.
Would have been like 10 times, but they would have been 10 times. It would have been the same episode, but the lights would have been 10 times darker if Moffat was in charge, because it was we want you to be scared to see where the creature's coming from. Okay, but the creature's inside the ship, like the walls of the ship and the bowels. Like, you don't need the walkways to be dark.
Right.
So yes.
And I mean, there were so many moments where, like, people were splitting up, and that made me nervous. But then I was also like, I kind of feel like I was just, you know, because of the color, because I could see, I was like, it's probably fine because they can see too, and so they're prepared.
Yeah,
and, like,
important.
You know, like it makes a big difference, I think.
Yeah. So one thing is that we did meet a lot of new characters on this, and this is something that, again, Graham is fine. He's a symptom of a larger issue or whatever, illness. But because there are 4 people on the TARDIS, when we get to a place where there's 5 more people, 6 more people, like, there's a lot of people. Yeah. And I felt like there was, you know, we're trying to get to learn about, like, the, you know, Yaz and Ryan and Graham and the doctor. But then also we need to, like, what's up with Eve Cicero? Like, what is her illness? What's going on with her? What's up with Ostis and the brother? And, like, there's a lot more people, and we're trying to figure out who they are and what role they play. And so I will say that was one thing that kind of started, like, I didn't love about this episode. And I starting to see, even with, like, last week's Arachnids in the UK, it's like when we're introduced to a group of people on planet or wherever they are, and just in this for the service of the story, I get a little overwhelmed by new characters and, like, keeping track of whose story is important.
I think this week did it better than last week because, you know, we meet Yaz's family, but we don't spend that much time with them. We, like, meet her mom, and we kind of understand who her mom is in relation to her. Well, I guess I would say I understand who her mom is, but not really her mom in relation to Yaz. Like, I didn't really get a strong, solid sense of their relationship. And then, you know, I don't remember the doctor's name, who was, like, trying to help her friend. And, you know, there's Mr. Big. And I think, you know, you keep track of him because of the Trumpiness, but also
he's Chris Noth.
Like, he's an American actor that, like, I never even watch Sex and the City, but I still know who he is. So, but I still feel like this week I had more of a sense of who these people were.
I also feel like that might have been a detriment, though. Because I feel like this episode, while it was good, I think that it came too soon because we still don't know who some of these characters are. I feel like last week, when we had like the ensemble cast or whatever, like they were very much there to do specific things and didn't necessarily have like their own storyline. You know what I mean? Like they were just there to do a thing. Whereas like this time, right, like this time it was like we have to figure out who Eve Cicero is and what's going on with her. We have to like Mobley is having her own issues, and then Yoss with his his baby and all of these things, and then we don't have enough time to focus on our actual companions, one of whom we don't really know very much about. And so it felt like oftentimes in this episode we're focusing on people that we didn't really need to know. And so it just felt like there were certain moments where I was like, okay, but like we could be talking to Yaz right now. We could be doing more things with her.
The episode spends a long time before we even get to Yaz and Ryan. Right. Like we don't really see them very much. Although I do want to make the point of, there's this whole cast of characters and the Doctor makes a Poirot reference. So I think it is very purposefully Christian. I don't know what the verb for an Agatha Christie story is, but I think there's a mystery, there's a mystery involved. We have to suss out, there are all these, they're not suspects because they're not really attached to the mystery in that way, but there's still like a cast of characters that we have to get to know, but also this mysterious, dangerous thing that we have to figure out. So I think it is calling upon like, mystery novel tropes in terms of the amount of characters and trying to understand each of their motivations to figure out who's involved. But because it wasn't a mystery in that same way, it didn't succeed in making the reference, I guess.
I think that was a great funny line, but I took it as like, oh, we got a lot of people in a room.
Yeah. No, I'm not trying to like actually say it was like a Poirot episode. Just like that made me think of like this episode is very much like those kinds of stories, but it's not that kind of story, which is where I kind of wish it had gone.
Yeah, and I think my biggest problem is it's none of the characters' faults. Like I really did enjoy like everyone this episode, but like Bayana was saying, like we're getting to know them and we're learning like their motivations, and it takes screen time away from learning more about the companions, and we're halfway through the season now. And I don't have a good sense of all of the companions and what that overall storyline is. And it's not a knock on this particular episode, just a knock on like how the season, again, it's Graham's fault. There shouldn't be like 2 companions is great. 3 companions is too many.
I was going to say, like, I think that part of the problem too is that like we're trying to, like, I think that it's still going to take time. So like, even if they had focused more on the companions in this episode, I still think it would take more time to get to know them. But I think that like, because obviously we've mostly just had to get to know one at a time. And then like, by the time even with Rory, like we met him in the first episode. By the time he was actually on the TARDIS, we more or less had a sense of who Amy was. And then definitely. Like River came on off and on. And so, same with like Captain Jack. By the time Jack
like Rose
and Mickey, and Mickey
when we got to we met Mickey, but when we got to know him more, we already knew Rose. We knew the Doctor.
Staggering
those introductions, and then when we get to the point where we're going off on like these planets and we're meeting these characters who exist, we know the companions. And so it's more about how the companions interact with like new people who we kind of understand like what their reactions are going to be and what their and
it's less Graham and Ryan. I feel like I know who they are, and like it's Yaz. And I think part of the reason why it's so I don't know, concerning is not the right word, but it's up there. It's so disappointing is because it felt like the first 3 episodes were about Ryan and the next 3 were going to be about Yaz, and this one was very much not about Yaz at all. Like she has the least time in this episode, and then it's not even like it replaces. She's replaced with Graham or Ryan. Like neither of them really gets any additional. Like Ryan gets a lot more additional character development, and so it's just like is like episode 8. Like I just want to know, like, are they gonna make up for this, or
Right.
Like, how are we gonna? When are we gonna learn more about Yaz? And obviously, next week is gonna be a very big one, and sort of bigger than even Rosa. Like, Ryan's black, so like Rosa was his episode, but like it's not like he had a personal connection to the people in the story in that same way as Yaz is gonna have next week. But yeah, I feel like we all of what we were saying is that we didn't learn enough about Yaz this week, and we really wanted to.
Yeah.
And so all the characters took away from that.
But I think it's becoming like a glaring thing. Like, even cause Yaz is kind of Ryan's sounding board when we learn more about Ryan and like his reckoning with his father. And I was and I really liked that scene, but the second time when I rewatched it, I was like, I really want to get this scene for Yaz.
Yeah, I was definitely like, as I was watching it, very much like, this is great for Ryan. Like, it was like half of my brain. Yeah, it was like on the one side, I was like, this is really great for Ryan's character development, and I love that we're getting so much character development for him. But then I was also like, okay, but what else is happening with Yaz? Like, is there something that she could, because there's that one in Rosa where they have that conversation about dealing with racism in the present. It was very much a, like, they were both bringing in themselves into that conversation, whereas this conversation was much more one-sided. It was Yaz very much trying to figure out and learn more about Ryan, which I think makes sense, but then like we don't get any moment where Yaz has an epiphany about her family, or where she has any kind of situation. Or
like we even know that Graham watches
Call of the Midwife.
What does Yaz watch? Like, maybe she watches soccer, I guess. Like, but you know, like the little details. Whatever. Those little details are given more to Ryan, and like we know what kind of music Ryan listens to. We know what kind of music Graham listens to. I don't know what kind of music Yaz listens to. You know, like those little details that are sprinkled in, not even just the big things, like the sprinkle in moments. We haven't really gotten a lot of that with Yaz either. So hopefully next week gives us more, and then maybe after that launching point, we'll get more of her story.
And that was my thing, because I was thinking like, okay, so with Ryan, we got him in like the first 2 episodes, and I want to say that, like, honestly, episode 2 wasn't specifically about him. He just has naturally become the main person who gets like like he has a very clear character arc, I think. Whereas like, and so part of me is like, well, after next episode, perhaps Yaz like will then be able to bring more of herself into the season, but at that point there's only 3-4 more episodes left, so then it's not even. But yeah, so I just real like everybody, like y'all have been saying, like Graham just needs, I could just find so many reasons for Graham to not be in.
What I enjoyed about, you know, sort of meeting our cast of characters is the Doctor. It's sort of the first time, it's one of the first times and the only times this season so far as 13 that she's like properly introduced herself, because she's either talking to people who like are humans and wouldn't know who she is, or like in Rosa she didn't really introduce herself to Krasko. So, or you know, like I think I forget what happened with the Stenza, but like, well, she didn't know who she was for the whole episode. So it's one of the first times we've gotten like a character who she introduces herself and they're like, I've heard of you. So I enjoyed that like Book of Celebrants scene, because it's sort of a callback to, you know, she is still trying to keep a low profile, but was just like, okay, but I have to come back and let you know that it was an entire volume and not just a chapter. Like, I just need you to know. Okay?
Just FYI. I'm a pretty big deal.
I'm a big deal. Well, the Doctor is a big deal if I were the Doctor, but it's just a common name. Like, I don't know what you're talking about, but whoever that person is, very big deal.
And the fact that they've heard of her too, because Homegirl was like, Eve was like, you're in there too, and then Astos was like, are you serious? Like, you're the Doctor? But like, at least having heard that name, even if they had never had an interaction with her at all.
Yeah, I actually read that as like, he just didn't believe she was a doctor.
Oh, see, and I read it as like, he knows who the Doctor is.
Yeah, they're on a hospital ship, and he's like, you?
I feel that.
It could go either way.
It could go either way, yeah. The other thing about Yaz that I think is important is that we were talking in previous episodes, I think maybe last episode too, or was it on the Slack? Whatever. We're talking about the parallels of Yaz and Martha, and how I had said that I feel like it's Doctor Who's chance to like do Martha's story justice and like do it right.
And yet.
And now we're in episode 5, and I'm like, or
Or sounds like they're going down the same
path.
path.
I will say though that like so the moment where the doctor is like, Yaz, you're gonna guard the antimatter drive with the like clone robot dude.
Yeah.
Which just seems like a terrible idea. Like, come on. But then like the moment where she's like, you're gonna do this, you're gonna take the stun gun, whatever, was very much playing to Yaz's strengths. And like while we didn't get character development from her, I do think like she's the cop. She has that we have the consistency. Like she has that training. And then because we had been talking about her and Martha together, I was like, is she going to join unit?
Ooh.
Because I think that would be really clutch for her. Like once, she needs to be fully developed and needs to like have that. But in my head, like watching it very much felt like this is her jam. This is why she's here. This is like her kind of skill set. Yeah. And then being able to translate that to like extraterrestrial.
Because there's no way she's going back to being a beat.
To just being that's
like,
not going to happen.
She's going to hate it, but also she's going to be so much like more advanced, and like they're not going to advance her at the speed that she wants. So I feel like that actually would be a great way to move her story forward, is to like be like, listen, you want to be a cop, these are alien cops. This is basically what they are. Yeah, that would be great.
I could do it.
I think it like is, I mean, they could obviously do other things, but it feels like at this moment like the logical next step, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And once they like actually flesh out who she is as a person, it still just feels like the right move.
And then in terms of like annoying gender stuff, I do enjoy that Yaz gets to be the one protecting the antimatter drive, and the boys have to go off and birth a baby. That was a great reversal. And so I feel like I appreciate that, especially with regard to Yaz. And so she's, allowed to go off on her own. She's allowed to do the thing herself and be sort of get delegated this task by the doctor, because the doctor's like, I know you can do this. Like, I have no concerns about you doing this. With regard to the doctor in this episode, so she loses the TARDIS and like starts to freak out, as we were saying, but the medical doctor on the Tsuranga has to like check her because she's going a little, I don't know, I feel like she's going a little too hard. She is, in fact, going a little too hard, but I also don't want to say that, because I'm like, yes, we need to get back to the TARDIS. Like, I was with her. I was just like, yeah, we need to get back to the TARDIS. Turn the ship around. We can't lose that again. We just got it back. So I totally understood where the doctor was coming from, but I liked that he was just like, okay, but this is a ship of sick people who need to go to this hospital in the other direction. I cannot, like, what do you want me to do? Like, I can't just, like, do this for you. So I like that the doctor's selfishness, like the doctor so far has been very kind and considerate and says thank you and I'm sorry much more often. And so I do appreciate that the same, kind of God complex thing that has been more prevalent in like previous doctors is still there. She just is checking it more frequently, and then in this moment of desperation, she's just like, no, get me back to where I need to go, because I am who I am. And then it's just like, oh no, you're right.
I also liked it because it was a moment of like seeing her panic but still being very like competent. Like she's like, okay, we do this, we do this, and he is like, hey, and it's kind of like the slap, like it's like slapping her back into like reality. But like that is the doctor's form of panic. Like that's what her panic looks like. It's still very
it's very much like there's an issue, I need to solve it now. It just so happens in this moment she is very like one track minded, so doesn't think about everything.
But then I saw this comment, I think it was on TV Tropes, because I was just like scrolling, avoiding other work I was supposed to be doing, and as you do. But I saw a comment that was like, oh, this was refreshing to see, because for people who found the doctor's recent, kindness grating, and I was like, well, dang, like, I enjoyed the moment, and now you done ruined it because I don't want it no more. Like, why do we have to, I don't know, just like make
why does she have to be an asshole? Or like
Right, like,
why
is that a good
the
thing?
doctor have to step over people or take over every situation and not, like, she's a traveler, and so that means that she, has deference to other cultures, and we have seen that in previous doctors.
Right.
But yeah, it just that bothers me.
The specific quote is, for people who found 13's repeated instance that she just wants to help people tiring, seeing her have a moment of selfishness where she wants to get back to the TARDIS is a nice change for the people who found the over-earnest behavior grating. And I just wanted to, like, slap whoever wrote that, because that's not a bad... Like,
also, that's literally who the doctor is. Always. She's just saying it more explicitly.
Yeah.
But, like, how many times has the doctor said, I'm the doctor, I save people?
Literally, like, every season.
Like, what?
And so I we're in this TARDIS bubble of, like, not only Black people watching this show, and so, actually getting to hear those fans like us talk about this show, but also we're in a bubble of, like, people who've been enjoying the season, and so it's just, I don't know, it's just baffling to me to hear that, like I love this season partly because the doctor is so earnest and, like, kind, and, it's partially because it's me, Hufflepuff Prime, but, like, it's just baffling to me to hear people that this is a reason why people are, like, annoyed with this season.
Niceness is annoying.
Apparently.
Says so much about, like, our current state of the world.
Yeah.
Because niceness is annoying.
Apparently.
And not even niceness, just manners.
Over-earnest behavior grating. Well, you're grating, whoever wrote that.
Your face is grating.
So I just wanted to, like, remind ourselves that, like, there are people in the world who are not enjoying the doctor's behavior while we continue to flail over how great it is. And, like, they did bring it back because it is consistent character development, but, like, the doctor also, all iterations, especially in New Who, because that's my, framework, is just, like, the doctor does this. Like, the doctor is nice.
For those people who are upset that she's nice, it sucks to suck. That's all I have to say about it.
Yeah. Asked us.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, if you don't listen to this woman telling you not to do the thing.
When dude said rookie mistake, I was like, did you?
But, like, she literally
multiple
told you
times
what to do.
The rookie mistake was not listening. Why the hell did you get into the damn thing?
Who told you to get in there? Not the
Nobody.
Doctor.
Literally no one told you to do that.
I don't know. It just was like, is it because she's a woman? Is it just because you don't know her? Like, I can't imagine a male doctor saying, don't do the thing, and him not being like, oh, maybe you're, like, at least considering it. Like, I tried to imagine, like, 10 or 11 telling him, like, and he had such, I feel like he was really nice, and he was really great to Mobley, and, like, in sort of, like, reassuring her. And so it was, like, it was weird to me to see, like, he seemed really kind and really supportive, especially of this, like, young woman who's, like, under his care and, like, under his instruction or whatever. And then for him to just, like, completely disregard 13's instructions when she clearly knew what she was doing. Like, she nearly hacked into your entire computer system, and you're just like, well, I'm gonna just, like, look in here and check. Oh, you're telling me no? Let me just, I'm just gonna check, though.
I'm gonna do it anyway.
I'm just gonna check.
But I do think, though, it is strange to have someone who you're taking care of pop up and start bossing you around.
Yeah. No, and that's why I did feel weird about it, too, is because he's had such a good front in terms of being like, you're my patient, I need to take care of you, so that's why I'm in charge. But then she was just like, no, don't do the thing, and he did the thing, and I felt like those are two separate motivations. Yeah. It's not really the right word, but, like, it felt very different. Like, his insistence on her being in her place as a patient felt right, but then he ignored her, and that felt wrong. Like, that felt different. Like, I don't know. It's hard to explain it, but I agree with what you're saying. But then when they had decided to team up on a level ground, he then decided he was still higher than her. And I felt like they had come to an equality understanding.
Yeah. I think it's just one of the things that I've always noticed about Doctor Who, and it's something that you take for granted as that's how the show, it's the only way the show works, right? But this person shows up in your domain and starts telling you what to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you're like, but
who are you?
Who are you? 1, 2, like, you just got here.
Like,
you
I
didn't even know what century it was.
Mm-hmm.
You asked me earlier what century is it. So you might be mad, or you are mad. You're a mad person with the box, and I'm supposed to listen?
Yeah, that's so true.
So I always have a bit of a soft spot for people that don't listen to the Doctor right away, but yes.
And then he had more chances.
Right.
It was just one of those moments where, like, it's one of those moments, too, where, like, and this is just kind of all television, or, like, television, or, you know, these kind of genres, or, you know, drama or whatever, where you just know that this character is about to make a dumb decision, and then they do, and you're just like, okay, you played yourself.
It's just like Ned Stark conundrum.
Yeah, it's just like, you didn't have to do that, bro.
Yeah.
Who told you to tell Cersei? I'll believe it. It's fine.
We don't even have a a Game of Thrones podcast.
Who told him?
Wrong podcast. Oh, nope.
His entire plan.
Podcast when she will find a way to yell at Ned in all of our podcasts.
Absolutely. Fair.
And he deserved it.
So Homeboy dies because a creature was eating at
his secret plan.
Homeboy on the spaceship died because the escape pod jettisoned because a creature was nibbling at the circuitry of the ship.
Listen, I don't care. I don't care. They could do everything they did, laying out how terrible the Pating are, how, like, they show up and it means instant death. I don't care. Them shits were cute as hell.
They were
adorable.
They were like vicious adipose.
Right? Yeah. They were adipose.
Yes.
Someone said Stitch, hairless Stitch, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, don't design the monster to be that adorable and then expect me to be happy that you kicked it and put it and threw it out the air. Like, no. I wanted to keep it in pet.
It's
fine. I mean, what's funny, and even when he, like, was growling, I was like, you're just the cutest. Like, it's just really cute.
He was literally, like, I was watching it and I was like, Luna, is that you? Adorable with fucking shit up? Like, but still adorable?
That is very much your dog.
But I think that also helps with the, like, making it not a scary factor.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
With, like, he's clearly doing some, like, fucked up shit and, like, needs to be stopped, but, like, I'm not terrified. Like, now that I see him, like, y'all are obviously, at this point, I'm like, y'all gonna save it. Somebody might die, but, like, he's not gonna kill you because he doesn't even eat humans. So, like, it's not gonna be on his hands. So, let's...
But I also felt like they were doing a lot to be like, you should, you know, avoid this creature at all costs, and the only way to survive it is to just run and destroy the self-destructive ship. And I was just like, but how could you do that when you look at his face, his little face?
But also, I can't every single time
that's how he looked when he ate that bomb.
No, but
like he got himself a good bone, and he needed a belly rub. You just wanted to rub his belly. Don't tell me you didn't want to rub his belly.
But there's a scene where it like pulls up some pipes and like goes deeper into the ship, and I'm like, look at the little Pating butt.
I know.
This little butt. It looked like a little baby butt. It was just a little butt.
I don't care. I want Patings everywhere.
I
want all of them.
Because they
that's how they get you.
See, I'm team adipose but I feel like I would actually love if the Pating were like evolved from the adipose, like they're part of the same like genetic evolutionary family or something, where it's just like, oh, this is what happens when the adipose have gone into space, and you know, several centuries into the future, they've evolved into this creature that eats anything. That would be great.
They are made from fat, so you know.
Yeah, you know.
I just so cute.
They were very cute.
This week we also, the companions get to, you know, experience 67th century culture. So we meet Yas, who is a pregnant man. And I just am imagining all the, like, very traditional fanboys of the show, watching this,
Their
despite all of the PC stuff that they're already yelling about, but they're still watching the show. And then episode 5, we're 5 in, y'all, and they're still watching. I'm sure episode 5 came up, and they're like, now this PC male pregnancy crap. And then you go,
how is male pregnancy PC?
I don't know. It just feels
That's
like
what they would call it.
Yeah, like now that men, women are trying to subjugate men and make them feminine or something. I'm sure there's something.
It was interesting to me because I appreciated them learning about other cultures and customs, and I think that, like, first of all, every time Ryan heard some new alien shit, he was like, his face, it just made me so, he was just always, every time somebody said something like hella out of left field, he'd just be like, what? Like, why are you looking at me? But I will say that, like, what was interesting, and it just feels like a thing that a lot of, like, cishet white people do, is when they write things like, oh, a dude can get pregnant. It's like a gotcha or like aha, but you didn't think this was going to happen. But then also, even in doing that and trying to be subversive, like in quotes, because y'all can't see me, like even trying to be subversive, they still have like a very binary way of viewing gender. It was so
binary.
And I was like, when it first happened,
a man gets pregnant with a boy child.
A girl gets pregnant with a girl child. And I'm like, what about what's happening in
gender
the
essentialism is the problem I was reading this thing about gender essentialism is a problem in the UK that goes beyond like the liberal. I can find this and share it again because it was more in terms of J.K. Rowling's fuckery, but the way that it was played for laughs as well. Like, I always enjoy when we see some weird alien thing and the aliens are like, what's it? Like, yeah, duh. Like, of course it's a boy. I'm a boy. I always enjoy that, like, kind of taking, like, what you taking normal for granted or what is normal. Yeah. But it was very much, like, my mind immediately went to, but what if it's gender? You know what I mean?
Like, what if the kid is not, like, a boy or a girl? What if they decide or find out later that they're not? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
that part was easier for me to handle because it's more about a gender thing and not a biological sex thing. But there are many instances of babies being born with both sex, like, organs and, you know, like, that. The whole plot of Orphan Black, guys.
Right. I will say too that, like, so, like, it's also not to say that there wouldn't be other cultures and customs that have binary gender
in an alien
like,
race.
Dynamics.
It's not a human person. Yeah.
But I think that it kind of shows how far and really like how short their kind of imaginations go and imaginings go when it comes to like different kinds of gender roles and binaries and whatever. I also think that it reminded me, like, because when it first happened, I was like, this could maybe work, but like seems like a little bit like, okay. Like I was, my notes are very much like, I don't really, like, we'll see. Is this going to be a problem? Especially thinking about, for me, it was mostly thinking about how like the companions were going to react at first. And then I was like, really what it reminded me of is, it to me, it felt the same as the blue person calling Bill racist. So it was a very much like, yeah, in the future or like in other places in space, we have different modes, but it was like the part where Ryan is like I couldn't make a person, you know what I mean? Like I couldn't have a baby, and then he's like, or they say, it was something like that where homeboy shuddered and he was like, I can't imagine. And it was like, but even just that was very much like, oh, I can't believe y'all have that thing, and it's supposed to be played for laughs, but also like y'all have a mad like your binary is very like it's not that much different, so it just felt like. It could have been.
It's like y'all ain't that radical.
They were trying. But you could tell that they were trying. They were kind of like, "Ooh, patting ourselves on the back, look what we did," but it didn't really do much. I guess, which also feels like a lot of times they've patted themselves on the back. So.
That's like part of like Doctor Who at this point.
Yeah.
It's how many ways can we pat ourselves on the back in one episode? I will say the thing with Yas, the other thing with Yas being pregnant was. The idea of, I think, Connie, you said this, like, the flipping of the gender roles where Yaz goes off to help, like, stop the ting, and then Ryan and Graham go help deliver the baby. And there were a lot of times in which I thought it was like done really well and like played for laughs but played for laughs in a way that was just like, but if you were a woman, that's just what it is
expected to do. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I think that they did try that from Yas's perspective, but he's not our perspective. So, like, Yas is just like, obviously, you guys are going to come with me. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I need my bros here for my birth. But from our character's point of view, it was played for laughs and was just like, why would we do that? That's dumb. Oh, I guess we all about to go do this. So I mean,
but I also think that, like, if somebody just popped up to you and was like, you're going to help birth my baby, you'd be like...
regardless of gender.
Why? Who? And what? Why? Me? You talking to me?
Ryan's like, I'm sorry.
You said, do what? He said, I don't. And so, like, I feel what I'll say about Yas, and this is, like, partly brought up because we were talking a lot about pregnancy, like, this week, and, like, how much it costs, specifically.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
This dude, his whole gestational period is a week.
Woo!
So he got accidentally
Like,
pregnant. Like,
that
wasn't planned. And then he has a week to prepare for that shit. Like, no, thank you.
Nope.
No, not at all.
And we were sort of talking about that in our Slack. We were talking about
accidental pregnancy.
We were talking about the cost of pregnancy and how crazy that is. And then it kind of went into like people who didn't realize they were pregnant until like 6-7 months in, and how like.
Or until the baby came.
Or until the baby was like, hey, I'm here. And so I find that it's just like, that's at least you got a month, maybe it happened the day of, but like a lot of the conversation we were having was like, all right, you got like a week in advance. This homeboy was just on a vacation trying to live his best life and was just like, oh, by the way, next week you're gonna be a whole father.
I mean, he didn't wrap it up.
That is why I like contraception and like, you know, sex.
I was gonna say they didn't have no alien condoms.
That's what you go learn. You know what I mean? Like, wrap it up. If you can't handle the possibility of a bit, like he knew.
I wonder.
You know,
I wonder what the you know, they never make it clear. It seems like they have some sort of binary system. So like, and they never make it clear if it's another man or if it's a woman. But like. How do you decide which body becomes pregnant is just a question that we don't have to delve into answers.
Yeah.
But just a question that I had of like, you know, it seems like both genders can have babies. So whoever he, you know, had sex with, how did it
seems like they also had an equal chance of becoming pregnant, in which case, why isn't contraception more, like, widely
used?
Yeah, if everyone can get pregnant, then...
Yeah. Also, it felt very much like... I feel like we've had, like, pregnant characters and stuff before on the show, but, like, the fact that he was talking about, like, I had dalliance while I was on vacation, I don't know, it felt like a little further than who usually goes with discussion of sex.
True. I mean, like, Amy and Rory were married, so
yeah. Kept Jack and his like innuendos and like those kinds of things. But
yeah. So it's been a while. Exactly. It's been so long since that. So it's interesting that it's, you know, maybe Moffat has more.
Moffat loves the Victorian era, so he has very big abilities.
Yeah.
You know that.
Exactly.
I think the other thing and the final thing about Yas in terms of just like cultural criticism or commentary was the idea of like the names. Like he's like, because of you, I'm gonna name my baby Avocado.
It's like, why would you name it Ryan Graham? It would be a laughing stock.
I was also like, Avocado is kind of a fire name. It's a thing that I love.
Like, you know,
Amani, as he's listening, is typing.
Typing furiously. I know.
Oh well.
But
we didn't tell you to name your kid Avocado. We're just saying it's a fire name. That's it.
It's a fire. Like, you know, you want to like bring the child into the world with love, and I can't think of a better
Avocado pear, named after humanity's greatest hero. So someone tell that story. Thanks.
I know. I really want to know.
I love how Ryan and Graham, like, only being in the 21st century, are sure that that's not someone's name in the future.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like that's
like
not
they're
real.
like, no, those are fruit. It's like you never heard of.
Apple.
They're like more than I was gonna say. There's at least one apple. They're like, let's not act like this isn't a thing.
Pete Wentz's kid is named Bronx Mowgli.
I mean,
which is also like
you could look at a lot of celebrity,
baby names.
It's like, somebody's named Avocado.
Somebody,
yeah,
And their last name
my future baby, definitely.
Baby Avi. It's nicknameable.
Yeah.
So as part of like saving the ship, Yaz has to protect the antimatter core drive. Sounds right. And it's the doctor gets so excited to talk about this and explain it, and it's just like this is like the iPhone of CERN, and it's just like an antimatter moving the universe, and I love it conceptually and actually. Like, she just is so like happy about physics.
It was very cute, and I appreciate them, and I think that it's also cute that they thought that entire explanation of what was happening with antimatter would make sense.
I have no
idea. Because
I
was like,
I'm sure there were some physicist Doctor Who fans that were living. That were that were all about it. We are not those fans.
No, because I was listening, I was trying to follow, and I got like having to, and I was like, no, it's not happening. I was like, I don't know what she's saying, bro.
But she said she loved it, and that's all that mattered to me.
When she said CERN, that was the first time that I was like, oh, this is like a real life thing. Like magical science. I always tune out. Like, she starts explaining that, my brain goes, magical science. We'll get back to the plot.
Right.
But she went in, and I was like, yo, I
appreciate you, 13, and I love your love.
Like, you could have just said temporal flux, and I'd been like, yep. Back in time, yep. Shouldn't have touched, got you on it. But antimatter and matter and the positrons, I was like, I don't test me on this, bro.
I'm going to fail the quiz.
Just give me the gun and I'll shoot the pating. I got you. Like, you don't even have to explain this.
I feel like Yaz actually felt that way.
Like curly and,
because I feel like she gets short with the doctor later when it's just like, she's like, I got it. Shoot the thing. She's like, do not go into this explanation about how science
I think
works.
she was like, oh, antimatter, I know about that. And then the doctor was like, like, it's literally like whenever like we meet anyone, they're like, I like Harry Potter. I like Doctor Who. And we're like, you like Doctor Who? And then all of a sudden they're like, no.
It's like, oh, I thought I did.
I've watched a couple episodes a couple times.
Yeah.
It's cute.
I thought I knew, but...
I thought I knew. I don't know.
But hey, these are things that we love conceptually and actually. And I don't, my Hufflepuff heart was just like, you're so adorable. And then I feel like it's just worth mentioning, because we've gotten the stanza a couple of times, that there's like a mention of turbulent worlds, and like the 67th century is messy in the middle, but then it turns all right in the end. And so it's like, are they referencing the stanza? Because they're off like genociding planets out here and causing disruption in the universe.
But I also, because Eve Cicero is like a she's a war hero type of person, so
yeah, she could have been battling the stanza.
Yeah.
We don't know. She's come across the Pating before, but it's unclear if.
And she cuddled with it and adopted one, as you would.
Nah.
The only proper response.
Kicked that joint into outer space, and it was just like, I'm good. I'm gonna just fly here until I find my next source. But I'm good for a while. I don't need to go attacking things. But that's the thing, is that like, it's adorable, but like, it's about to go and like mess up somebody else's ship, and then they're gonna be dead in space.
When you go to Yosemite, they tell you to keep your food in the bear cages. That's just it. Like, they're not vicious. They just gotta eat.
That is true.
You know what I mean?
It does have to eat.
Like, they just are ruled by their stomach, and I get it. I
too. And also they absolutely were not tripping about the humans. Like, the doctor went off to like scan it, and he like growled at her like, I'm trying to eat. Like, let me mind my business.
This reminds me of when Aminata comes over and Luna's trying to eat, and she tried to get all of it. And I'm like, if the dog bites you, the only time that Luna will ever even think about biting you is when you are up in her face when she's eating her food. Like, leave her alone.
Yeah. It's true. I hope this, the Pating finds a nice planet full of empty...
I really think the cruelest thing about the Pating was that you couldn't touch it.
It just needs a hug.
Yeah.
I just, yes. Like, if you imagine putting it in a baby Bjorn and, like, walking around with the pating.
Just feeding it, like, tubes
Like,
and hard, like, engines and
stuff.
shit.
Yeah. And for Stroll, it's so cute.
Oh my god.
It was so cute.
So let's talk about Ryan.
Let's do it. He's the best. He's so cute. I love him.
That's it. That's all. End of show.
All right, moving on.
Focus on the TARDIS.
But we learn a lot about Ryan this week, which we weren't expecting because, as we said, we thought this was Yaz's turn. But we do love Ryan, so we love learning things about him. I really enjoyed at the beginning of the episode, they're stuck in this like impossible situation and they don't know what's going on. But Ryan's like, I back us every time. And he's like in it. He's like, this is the crew right here. Like, Graham,
like,
I still don't really mess with you, but we out here.
Yeah.
Well, also, like, the thing I loved but hated, I always appreciate mentions of, like, off-screen hijinks and antics and stuff because it shows that, like, they have been, like, it's not real time. This is not, like, the 5th hour of their hanging out or whatever, But then I also hate it because I'm like, I want to be there. I want to see everything. But they have gone to other planets since then. She's shown them really cool things. Nothing has tried to murder them, so therefore it didn't rate an episode. But I really liked that confidence that he's now showing in, like, the squad. And, we've got a rhythm going here.
And, like, it's funny because we're, like, talking about how, like, we're getting a lot of character development for Ryan and not for Yaz. And so I think having them together makes it a little frustrating because we're not getting it for her. But I do also appreciate that his story didn't just drop off at Rosa.
Absolutely.
I think that, he hasn't talked about his dyspraxia since the Ghost Monument. So I think that part is a little like, well, what about,
I guess we
what
haven't
about
really,
that?
He's just been walking places for the most part. They haven't really put him in a situation where it's going to come up again, but that's part of the thing is that they could.
They could, yeah. It just feels like, and not to say that it should be like every time, hey, remember, I got dyspraxia, but I think that they could make it a little bit more, like, prevalent throughout his episodes, throughout his character. Yeah. But I like, we learn more about his parents. We learn, like, and as we learn about it, it's less of him being, like, angry about it and more of him kind of coming to an understanding, which I think was kind of interesting and I didn't expect, but I like.
Yeah, this episode is basically Ryan's parents. Like, it's a microcosm of his parents because, we don't know actually. We are only just learning what happened to his parents, but it mirrors the things that are happening in the episode. So, like, he reveals that his mom had a heart attack and that he was the one to find her. And then General Eve has a heart attack. Like, her issue is that she has a heart issue. And then his dad, couldn't take the loss and then, like, seeing his son look like his mom every day. So then he left and was sort of like a deadbeat dad. And then we get Yas and his, like, fears and, like, wondering if he's going to be a good dad and, like, determining, like, oh, I want to give up the baby versus keeping it. So it's interesting that those two things were paralleled so strongly in the episode. I don't know if it was, like, I don't want to say it was too strong because it was fine.
I mean, I would also say that, like, I still don't think of this as a Ryan episode. I think he's the only one who's just gotten consistent character development. Like, I think they know his character very well. And I think I liked about, like, especially after him talking to Yas that first time, of him kind of, like, coming to an understanding with his dad without his dad having to be there. And then also without it seeming like because I'm not quite sure if there's been forgiveness yet, but I think that, like, or, obviously, like, starting to understand someone doesn't necessarily mean that that your relationship is fixed and that, like, things are fine, especially because they haven't yet had a conversation, that we've seen. So I think that, like, him seeing that, and especially for, like, Yas, it happening to him so quickly, and then Ryan's like, yo, you're making a whole ass human, like, that's crazy. And then also realizing, like, oh, I'm the same age that my parents were when they had me, which, like, shit, I've been having that all year and being like, should not be me. But, like, having that and realizing, like, yo, yeah, I wouldn't be equipped to do that now. And so, like, understanding how big of a change that is and how like big of a deal it is to have a child, but then also not letting his pops off the hook because he did have a kid, right? Like that was a thing that he did.
It was a choice.
It was a choice, and you know, he could also be doing better regardless.
And it sounded like he was around until his mom died. So it's not like he was deadbeat from jump. Like he then just left.
Right. And I think that's the important part about the Yas thing, which is that all of a sudden he's a single dad now. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Which is like where that becomes, because we don't hear like Yas is not going, like the mom isn't there, or you know, like I get the impression like it was like a tryst, and then he's not going to keep the baby. Right. You know, which is hilarious to think about. If you have a one-night stand and then the next day you find out you're pregnant and you only have a week, but like the person is gone, like, and you're just like, right, like it's not even like you have like time to warn them or like track them down. It's just like, oh, there it is. Yeah, maybe. So I think that was really, as you were talking about it, I was thinking that that's actually a very good parallel. Is that not that Ryan's dad, again, not letting him off the hook, but like, not that he wasn't ready to have a kid, but, you know, like, even in the way that our society is, it's so patriarchal that, like, dads figure, oh, I'm having a baby, but the mom is going to do everything. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden it's, like, on him. And he makes the wrong decision and he bolts, you know? Like, but that is, like, a very, like, it's a fear and a trepidation that is very, like, understandable. Yeah. I think the other thing with Ryan, though, is that, like you said, like, he's getting very consistent character development. We're also getting to the point where I'm, like, looking, like, something happens, and I'm looking towards Ryan, like, what's his reaction? What's his, you know, his facial expression? Is he going to do... Facial expressions are Is he going to do shadow puppets? You know what I mean? Like, I'm just, like, waiting for however he... I'm, like... I'm not doing with Graham or Yaz either. I'm not.
Yeah, I like that he is the most obvious, excited one to be going through this situation. Like, Yaz is playing it very cool and is just like, can handle herself in this situation. And Ryan is just like, no, but this is awesome.
Yeah. And I like that he's both like, he has, I think one of the things why it makes it great that he is comic relief at certain moments is because he is well developed and we know him. So it's not like Mickey where... we know who he is, and so him making shadow puppets or him making faces every time somebody says something wild or like something that he's not used to, and him being like, "What? Like, fam, huh? How?" I think that then makes it better because then you're like as opposed to it feeling like that's his only trait, it feels like that just adds another layer to him as a character.
Meanwhile, Yaz is over here like, "I want more,"
right? And we don't know what that means.
She's very empathetic and kind and caring. She takes care of other people, specifically Ryan. She's always looking out for his emotional but also physical, you know, safety and safety because of the dyspraxia and stuff. So I do feel like I know that about her, but that additional detail feels very attached to Ryan and men. Yeah. Which is annoying. So hopefully we do get more of her. And I like that her, in next week's episode, you know, the trailer was sort of like, it's her grandmother. So it's like, at least there's some more femininity and like women bonding and storytelling and women of color kind of thing going on. But yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I wonder if we're going to see Ryan's dad. And then I had the thought of, like, Ryan's dad's going to show up, and then he's going to be like, nah, I don't need you. I have granddad over here. And then he's going to dap Grandma for the first time. And he's going to be like, Graham's going to be like, look at me. Hey. I'm Grandpa. He's going to be like, when we connect, and then it explodes, right? No? Yeah?
No.
I'm going to say that for right now. I just want them to prove us wrong, but
I also will say that because they're going to do the he's my granddad thing, but so now my like consolation is if he says it's my granddad, and if Graham comes with them with the fist and he still says no, I would like that. Because so far I've liked that because it actually reminds me of 10. And I think we said this anytime that the companions start trying to talk like wherever they're in, he's like, you don't do that. So every time Graham is like, hey, you want to, and he's like, no. Because even when he said it this time, like it wasn't in a like, nah, bro, I don't mess with you. It was in a like, we're not doing that.
We're just not doing that, yeah.
Like, be cool. Like, we cool, but we're not doing that.
We're not dap. We're not on that level.
We don't have to. That's not your
and
thing.
like, I'm cool.
I think it.
We're cool, but you're not cool.
We're not.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You're old.
You're old.
And not black.
And not black. Also very major key.
Yeah. Like, you don't have to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the episode, we get a nice little funeral. It's sad, but I feel like this season we've gotten sort of 2 of them. We've
also gotten, they've both been black women, so that's the thing. Just want to point that out. But I also felt like while she did die, I didn't feel like she was fridged. Like her dying didn't advance like her, like other than her and her brother had a heart-to-heart before.
Yeah,
that was one of those sibling situations.
Yeah, especially because I don't know. I never found out more about him after that, and so it didn't feel as much like.
And she was already dying as well.
Yeah,
like that was going to happen regardless.
Mm-hmm.
She ended up using her last moments for a specific thing, but like it was it was Dumbledore. Like she was gonna die regardless.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it wasn't Dumbledore, but you know what I mean.
I think it would be so funny if someone listening to Tarbis is like, I don't know
Why do you
don't know Harry Potter. Why do you always use Harry Potter references?
Because we have 2 podcasts, and one of them is Harry Potter.
But also, even if
those are our
favorite, right? Like, but even if we did it, they're just the 2 biggest fandoms in my life.
I always I tell people all the time, like I think in Harry Potter, so like all of my like references or callbacks are usually
Harry Potter.
Potter. Because that's the world that I live in. You might live in this world, but I live in the Wizarding world.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, quotes from the TARDIS.
I don't like being told what to do.
And then he was just like, I can clearly see that.
Mate, you're growing a person, which is like a thing that I say like every time I see a pregnant person. It will never not like
shock and awe you.
Shock and awe me.
Like, it's a whole person. And it was in a week.
Yeah. Ooh, and I love how he said that, and then there was the moment where he saw the pictures and he was like, I couldn't do that, but it was in such he was in such awe. Yeah. And then Yas was like, nah, he literally couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Like, he was just
and Ryan's like, no, but I also
amazing.
Couldn't.
He's like, it also couldn't be me.
Which is also
literally
how I feel every time I see a pregnant person. Like
exactly.
Yeah, Ryan, same. Yeah. What is this magic? I never knew life throws stuff like that at you. I never knew that when it does, sometimes adults don't cope either.
Yeah, I really like that because I think about that all the time, but especially, it's not even with the coping of these awful things that happen to people. I think about that with wow, the teachers that I had as a child were adults, and now that I'm an adult, now I understand that teachers were real people and we're going through things. And so it's just wow, when you're a kid.
I think about that every time I have to pay my phone bill and or rent or any kind of taking money out of my account.
I've always have these weird moments where I'm I'm an adult. This is not just an extended dorm stay.
Right, yep. Mm-hmm.
There was a post on Twitter the other day that was saying wow, all these things that when you're a child are just magically always there. Now I have to buy them. You mean I have to buy toothpicks and paper towels?
I never get more upset about adult life as when I have to spend, when I go to buy paper towels, toilet paper, deodorant, and they give me money. And I'm like, well, I don't want this shit. I don't want to have it.
Right.
This it's not a game. It's not movies. It's not a concert. Why am I giving you money for this?
Right. And yet Ryan's talking about actual hardship, and we're nah, but being an adult on the regular is just
generally it's an evergreen statement.
I mean, it's twice fold or 10 times fold when you're talking about like big things and grief and loss, but
it also works on the everyday.
It works on buying toilet paper and paper towels.
Are you a doctor of medicine? Medicine, science, engineering, candy floss, Lego, philosophy, music, problems, people, hope. Mostly hope. Hi, I'm the doctor of candy floss.
Doctor of Lego.
Star Wars vibes, the mostly hope, but
but also it's so Hufflepuff vibes, just like
of all
candy
of
floss
things,
and Lego and philosophy and music and people and hope is just like I just love her so much.
Yeah, of all of those things, I might be a medicine of like music and problems. I got a lot of problems.
99.
I don't have that much.
The doctor
like,
ain't one.
Fixing of the problems, so I just collect them.
Yeah, I feel like the doctor also just also collects collects and fixes. You know, doctor of just problems as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Imagine a solution and work to make it a reality. Whole worlds pivot on acts of imagination.
She's also just very Whovian.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to live, including me. Just you know, everybody lives, even though 2 people died. Still, like...
Two people did
die. Good number 51. Number of Federalist Papers written by Alexander Hamilton. I love that show. I've seen all 900 casts. And that was the first time that I was like, that is what I would do if I had a machine that travels time and space. I would see every single, like, casting of Hamilton, color purple, next to normal. I would, like, put on, like, I would make revivals of all of my favorite shows. Thoroughly Modern Millie, it's coming back. Who knew? I'm bringing it back. Like
by traveling to the future where they brought it back.
Right. Like, that is what you
or
do.
Or the past where it existed.
Like, what is all this on a spaceship dealing with Patang and the Kree, and the Kree is a whole different universe.
Not the Kree.
I got Kree in my head, and I couldn't, because I'm thinking of the Stinza, but it came out as Kree. I couldn't get out. But yeah, what is that? Why are you spending your time on that? Spend your time on Broadway.
Please don't be wrong. I'd be so embarrassed.
And dead.
Yaz is like, girl.
Yaz with the truth.
He's like, hold up. I don't care about your feelings. I care about living.
May the saints of all the stars and constellations bring you hope as they guide you out of the dark and into the light on this voyage and the next and all the journeys still to come, for now and forevermore. And it's just so beautiful.
And
what is dead may never die.
And it's very pile of good things speech to me, where it's just like something I'm gonna see all over the internet with like beautiful graphics and like Instagram
and the
posts
TARDIS in the sky.
Yeah,
and, like,
the TARDIS and like
somebody
t-shirts.
holding hands.
Yeah, like t-shirts and stuff and like swooping letters and things. But it is very nice, and I just like stars and constellations and references to them. So I think it was a nice end and a nice like eulogy scene to have, and it feels very like something the show is sort of giving to the fans as like a good quotable.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. So that was our last one. Thank you all for listening. Check out blackgirlscreate.org for more Tarbis and Harry Potter and blog things.
Game of Thrones
follow
references.
Us on Twitter.
We got it all.
Nerds. Oh, yeah.
Someone get me a Patang.
Yes, get Robin a Patang 2K18. Or, no.
19.
No.
2K
forevermore.
67th century, so that's 60.
For now and forevermore. How about that? Get Robin a Patang for now and forevermore.
Anyway, follow us on Twitter at WeBlackandNerds and use the hashtag Tarbis to discuss all things Doctor Who with us.
But not physics, because we're not good at that.
Yeah.
Not physics or math.
Yeah, absolutely clear. Join our Slack, where we have a channel dedicated to conversations about Doctor Who. Rate and review us on iTunes and wherever podcasts are found, including Spotify, Google Play, and other things. Tarbis is a part of Hard Knock Media. We have joined the Nerds of Color podcast network, including podcasts such as Hard Knock Life, Southern Fried Asian, DC TV Classics, Ask Bi Girls, Daisy Geek Girls, We're Not All Ninjas in That Moment. You can check out all these podcasts at hardnocmedia.com.
Thank you for listening. You can join us next week where we discuss episode 6, Demons of the Punjab. So we're going back
We
to the
get
past.
to meet Yaz finally.
Yeah, just yes. So hopefully that goes well. Yeah, so thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time in Time and Space. That we know.
Black people.
Yay!
Right, but like...
You know
two
who
of
that
these-
is.
Right, no, I don't remember.
Okay.
It's Fat Joe. I'm down.
Oh.
I'm hip.
Of what? Of what crew?
Terror Squad.
Oh.
Hey,
Tag team.
look at
Tag
us.
team.
Look at
I
us. I'm glad
I knew
that was
Stormzy.
recorded.
You did know Stormzy, and then you didn't tell me about him, so I don't know what
I don't
that cred
listen
is.
to Stormzy's music. Am I supposed to tell you watch?
So then,
There's a grime artist.
so then you don't know
Outfires.
Stormzy. If you don't listen to his
Jackman,
music, then you
and I
don't know
really
him,
love-
bro.
The black girls out of the box.